Well, all the polls are closed on this election night in Calgary, and we have a new mayor. But what's next? I'm Max Penner, and this is Roughneck Radio. So on Monday, October 20th, 2025, Jeremy Farkas was projected to be the next mayor of Calgary, and his supporters and staff were treating it as a big decisive win, but that's not actually the case. He only won by about 500 votes, Sonia Sharp with 90,488, and Farkas with 91,071. This is also due to voter turnout being despicably low, with roughly only 26.5% of eligible voters turning out. We had higher voter turnouts during the lockdowns, and during our time outside of lockdown, we got below 30% voter turnout. That was diabolically low. This election also brought new provincial rules. Electronic tabulators were not allowed to be used in the counting process. I do agree with this rule, but I think it could have been done better. The province could have provided more funding to set municipalities up better for manual vote counting. That would have made things faster. Still, the rule itself is good because it limits the risk of tampering with the electronics like we've seen in elections around the world and other elections. It's pretty easy to tamper with the electronics and make it so some votes strangely just disappear, so at least it limits the risk of tampering in that sense. But the province is said to have a meeting with the municipalities to figure out how to do things better for next time. Anyway, a recount is definitely coming. There was only about 0.16% of the votes separating the two candidates, and for comparison, the threshold for a recount I think is 0.5% difference in vote separation. So that just shows you how close this actually was. Like, this was like a nail-bitingly thin margin, and it just 500 votes for a whole city. It's insane. Now, this still could flip because of the recounts, but what would a Farkas mayoralty look like? Well, we don't have his full plan at the moment, but we do have an idea of what his plan could look like. And one of the things he's mentioned, like the only thing he's mentioned, is repealing blanket rezoning, and with the way council shaped up, it probably would have been repealed regardless of him if he wanted to repeal it or not. So that's good, but I hope I could see him doing that, because if he doesn't do it, then the council will just push for it, and then he'll end up repealing it anyway. That doesn't mean we're getting the old conservative Farkas back. He's pushing for policies like hate tracking, or something he mentioned in a Reddit Ask Me Anything just last month, among other woke policies. Now I will need to look at his campaign website for a better feel on what this would look like, because like I said, the only thing he really mentioned policy-wise after the election is the blanket rezoning thing, so I'll just need to scan through his website to see what could happen. And I'm not saying all of this is going to happen, but it's his policies from his website, so it has a big possibility of happening. Now, to be fair, his fiscal platform looks solid on paper, but here's what's listed on his campaign website. On paper, these sound like solid conservative fiscal reforms, but let's be honest, this isn't how it's going to unfold. Because elsewhere in his platform, the numbers don't add up. Based on his platform wording, he's already borrowing from the Nenchi playbook and committing to direct a large portion of money to public art funding. You want to justify every dollar? Okay, let's justify creating a community arts infrastructure fund. That's right, more bureaucracy. No. Let's not fix the roads. Let's paint a pride flag on the sidewalk and call it progress. Debt transparency, sure, but how much debt are we taking on when we start loaning out cash for community art grants? To paint gender inclusivity murals on school walls? Now, gender-based inclusivity art is not a direct quote from his website, but his policies are kind of nudging it in that direction. There's some real financial wizardry going on here, folks, especially when you dig into his so-called vision to empower community leaders. How are we going to balance the budget when you say, quote, support shared space and co-location by promoting the use of underutilized public civic spaces as hubs for community organizations, saving money and creating stronger local connections? So what are we going to start doing? We're going to start renting warehouses out for pride parades or something, or letting the Palestinian protesters pile into that mall up north we're not using because it was just a massive waste of money and no one wanted to set business up there. Is that what we're going to do? We're going to give them that space when it could be used for living space? It sounds nice, but that's not fiscal reform. That's just code for expanding bureaucracy while pretending to save money. But don't worry, he's got a plan for transparency at City Hall. But that includes and is not limited to asking the province to get rid of municipal political parties. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, that feels a little undemocratic, don't you think? Like, shouldn't people be allowed to run as a party if they want to? Like, I know Farkas ran as an independent, but that doesn't mean he can advocate for the removal, or he should be advocating for the removal of municipal political parties just because he ran as an independent. People might think I'm putting on the tinfoil hat for this one, but I think Farkas might be doing this to benefit his own position. The reason why I say this is when you have a municipal political party, all the councillors running as a part of that party will most likely always vote with each other. Take the Conservative Communities First Party, for example. Their candidates control 4 out of the 14 wards in the city and often oppose what I'd call Farkas's more progressive or bureaucratic policies that, in my view, just waste money and jeopardize our privacy. What I'm trying to say here is if Farkas eliminates municipal political parties, it gives him an edge so that if he does win the next municipal election, which he won't, means that there will be no more parties such as the Communities First Party who have a mutual opposition to him. Looking at some of these policies, however, looks alright, but I don't think any of this will pan out, and it's going to turn into a Jeff Davison situation where he presents himself under a conservative banner while having a heavily progressive and liberal voting record. Now, Farkas's original voting record on council was really conservative, but after he lost the 2021 election, he turned really progressive, as you'll see with his policies now. He for some reason flipped really progressive. I think he did that just to win the mayoral election this time, but it happened, and I'm not too pleased with it, but the people have spoken. Also, one thing about municipal parties is that they're a party in the sense that they have a mutual understanding in messaging and in policy, but they're not elected the way we elect parties. For example, the Communities First Party could win in every ward, but Farkas can win as mayor because wards are not seats like provincial and federal ridings are. They're wards, not ridings, meaning they don't affect who becomes mayor the way provincial or federal ridings affect who becomes premier or prime minister. So when I say party, it's more like a group that functions as a party in policy and unification. Here, let's play a game I like to call Spot the Bureaucracy. Oh, let's see here. Launch a renter support office to provide legal information, mediation, and support. That sounds like a bureaucracy, doesn't it? Support the creation of a non-market housing acquisition fund to preserve at-risk rental buildings. That sounds kind of like a bureaucracy, but we'll have to see about that one. Create a dedicated housing delivery team to speed up permitting and approvals, for example, by implementing a city-led readiness program to identify proactively service underused parcels of land and near transit stations for employment hubs, blah blah blah. Yep, that sounds like another bureaucracy. Establish a City Hall Housing Innovation Lab to test solutions from prefab built. Hold on a minute. Prefab? Like the company our prime minister's invested in? Like prefab? Like those shipping containers the government wants us to live in? Like the Brookfield shipping containers that they want us to live in, like those modular homes, that kind of prefab. Oh boy, it's worse than I thought. Anyway, adaptive reuse and international best practices, blah blah blah. Yep, that sounds like another bureaucracy, and these are just the housing ones. I haven't even gotten to the other ones yet, but let's move on to that. But oh, look what we have here. Adopt a housing equity roadmap to ensure Calgary's housing system works for racialized, indigenous, disabled, newcomer, and LGBTQ residents. That sounds like a woke bureaucracy. Now we can move on to bureaucracy in other places, like the art one we talked about earlier. Let's see here. Support the creation of Calgary Transit Foundation along the lines of Calgary Public Library Foundation to facilitate additional funding and community engagement. Uh-oh, a transit bureaucracy. Just what we needed. Now there's a lot more, but I'll let you guys find them on your own time. All the links are in the description because I don't want to take up all your time here, so I can move on to the more important stuff, but let's move on to councilors. Calgary, here is your new council. Some faces you may recognize and some faces you may not. Landon Johnston, you may recognize that name. He was the one who put forward the Recall Gondek campaign, and I'm very happy to see him in council as he was elected in Ward 14. You can see there in the bottom corner, and I'm betting he will do very well there. You may see the icons next to the councilor-elect, the I being independence, the CF being the community's first party, and the arrow being the Calgary party, with the sun being the A Better Calgary party. Now, unfortunately, here in Ward 6, John Pantazopoulos will be representing us in City Hall. From what I've seen, this guy is exactly like Jeff Davison, a leftist masquerading as a conservative. As you guys know, I supported the actual conservative candidate, Joanne Burse, but for some reason we keep having the same problem here in the ward. We always elect the worst candidates. First it was Richard Pootmans, then it was Jeff Davison, then it was Pootmans again, and now Pantazopoulos. I have no idea why we elect the most liberal candidates that just vote against everything that would help us and then vote for pay increases on themselves. But it happens every time. But let's just hope next time someone steps up with real conservative principles and actually gets it done. As for the party breakdown on council, there are 6 party-affiliated candidates that have been elected to council, 4 of which being the community's first party, and the 2 others being the Calgary party and the Better Calgary party. One last note, there will also be a recount Ward 12, so don't be shocked if that changes in the coming days. Well, we have a mayor-elect who is going to set up even more bureaucracies and keep spending like Gondek and Nenshi never even left, and I guarantee you he will not last more than 1 term. I guarantee you Miss Sharp will be back and she will win next time. Ward 6 made the same mistake again, but that's just the process of democracy, I guess. But overall, council seems to be pretty center-right-leaning, so Farkas could have a tough time pushing the ideas he wants to put through. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this short little breakdown. It's not as long as I wanted it to be, but I gotta get on with other videos. I'm planning a weekly news update segment for politics. Like I'll cover all ranges, like from federal, provincial, and municipal. I'll cover all that, so I gotta get that out of the way with. So please make sure to like and subscribe or follow if you're watching on Rumble if you want to see that. Go follow all my socials on this side of the screen, join our Discord server, and follow us on Rumble. And until next time, have a good one. Take care.